After the girl followed her date home, the mother thoughtfully prepared food for them. But who would have thought, not long after they ate, the date suddenly rushed into the house and pulled the curtains tightly shut. The girl immediately sensed something was wrong. Sure enough, the next second, she began to feel dizzy and faint. So she frantically grabbed Anna and rushed out of the room. But since the food had been drugged, the two were still taken away. When they woke up, they found themselves trapped in the wilderness. The two hurriedly made noise, trying to call for help. But unexpectedly the thug came back carrying a gun. He kept mocking the two, saying no one would hear their cries for help. The two instantly fell into despair. At this time the gang leader walked over. He discovered the two had been keeping close contact with their uncle, so he forced them to give the safety code, and then replied back in the girl's tone. Just when the girls were completely desperate, a sheriff suddenly appeared. This instantly gave them hope, and they rushed toward him. But the next second, the sheriff put away his gun and wrapped his arm around the thugs. The two instantly realized they were all in it together. Soon the thugs shoved the girls into a shipping container. Not long after, the sheriff walked out of the container. Fortunately, the uncle noticed something abnormal in the text message and hurried to the police station to report. Unexpectedly, they were actually in it together. The sheriff casually brushed him off with a few words, then told him to go home and wait for news. In despair, the girl made a shocking decision. She pretended to get close to one of the thugs, then attacked him when his guard was down. After completely dealing with the thug, the two unlocked the chains. When the sheriff returned to the scene, he discovered the two were long gone. The next second, a car engine suddenly roared from behind. It turned out the two had secretly hidden nearby and seized the chance to steal a car. As they were leaving town, they unexpectedly ran into two strange girls. Thinking of the torment they had just suffered these days, the two didn't hesitate to return to the town. They went to a store to buy some tools and asked the owner for the gang leader's address. Meanwhile, the gang leader had just arrived home, unaware of what awaited him. When he opened the refrigerator, he suddenly sensed something was wrong, but he was still ambushed and knocked to the ground by the two. They tied him to the table and began their revenge. Meanwhile, the uncle, after leaving the police station, kept searching the town for traces of the two. After constant asking around, he found the gang leader's address, but just as he arrived, he suddenly heard a miserable scream. When he rushed inside, he only saw the room in chaos and the gang leader barely alive. At this time, the two girls were following the address they forced from the gang leader to find the masked man who had assaulted them. Although they didn't know his face, they successfully identified him by his tattoos. The girl swaggered straight through the front door, but the man didn't see her as a threat. Instead, he kept taunting and humiliating her, but Anna seized the chance to ambush him and knocked him down. The two dragged the man behind a car to finish him. Meanwhile, after finding the gang leader dead, the uncle rushed back to the police station, but unexpectedly, while he was answering the phone, the sheriff ambushed him. He brought him back home. Seeing the uncle's furious expression, he felt endless joy. Then he once again brought back the two girls, and just as he was filled with excitement, the two quietly appeared behind him and seized the chance to knock him to the ground. Then they tied the sheriff to a chair and began to toy with him. Soon the sheriff completely broke down, babbling apologies to the two, but in the end they still dealt with him. After finishing everything, the two did not reunite with their uncle. They went straight to the thug's mother's house.